And they really try to tell us that loser's queue is not a real thing. There's just absolutely no way you're going to convince me that this is organic matchmaking here and that there's not some outside force going on in the background manipulating stuff. YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark, and God, I hate having to do these kind of videos where I talk about this, but I have to, or else I'm gonna go crazy. Because the problem is that they made this game addictive enough to where I am indeed addicted to this game. I can't stop playing it. And that should speak volumes about the game, because I am not a hero shooter person. I would much rather be playing an FPS or an extraction type game or something like that. So to get me to a point to where, I've changed the whole course of my channel from games like that to something like Marvel Rivals, it should just speak volumes about it, right? And I would be lying if I said that I wasn't addicted to the game. But, gameplay that you're seeing in the background, this was from Sunday morning, this last Sunday, Easter morning, I'd say. And, I don't know exactly what time it was, but it was somewhere in the early hours, like around like 3 to 6 a.m. or something like that, right? 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. And I had made this part of this video a short saying that ranked isn't a real place. And, these were the lobbies that I was getting. Now you could chop it up to, and you could say that this was, Dark, it was early in the morning. It was Easter weekend. So there was a lot of people that aren't usually on that are getting on, and they just for some reason chose to play ranked, whatever, however you want to chop it up to. But these lobbies that I was getting were absolutely just insane, meaning that I could have played it one-handed with a blindfold on, hanging upside down, right? Like they were just way too easy, whether I was solo tanking or I had a second tank, whether I was getting healed by my healers. People could have just been, moseying around the map doing their own thing, like looking at pictures and stuff on the walls, and I wouldn't even have known, because people wouldn't even leave their spawn. As you can see in the video, they're refusing to come out. And when they do come out, they're coming out staggered. Even though they're all alive, they're just coming out staggered one at a time. And I'm not gonna lie, I was laughing, I was having a fun time, I was trolling, in the chat and stuff, all that kind of stuff. But even though, like the expression, it's all fun until the rabbit has the gun, right? It's funny when we're the one that's stomping, and then when you're not, then you start to get upset and you want to vent, right? I can admit these things. I'm a human being, right? We're not perfect, just like this game is not perfect. As much as I love it, it has its flaws like anything else. And, I feel like it's just something that I have to talk about. Like I said, for my sanity, it's something that I have to talk about, And, what made me want to bring this up again is that for the last couple of days, while I have been grinding rank, when I have been, the matches have seemed a little bit more organic, to the point where I almost started to question, right? Like, have they fixed something behind the scenes? Are they kind of altering it? Maybe I'm just, getting to a point where obviously I'm constantly trying to learn. I'm not the best at this game whatsoever. I'm not a pro player, but, like I said, in previous videos, that with over 30 years of gaming, history and stuff and understanding, it gets to a point to where, just like musical instruments, when you first start playing an instrument, it is very complicated. It's hard. There's a lot of things you have to learn. Not only you have to learn the instrument, you have to learn chords and progressions and all those different things. But as you start to play more instruments, when I first started playing guitar, it was very hard, very complicated. Once I learned guitar, then I moved on to piano, then I moved on to the saxophone, then I even picked up a violin and was just able to play it without really having to get any lessons or anything, and et cetera, to the point to where you can just kind of look at something and go, oh, what's that? Where's the A? Where's the B, C, et cetera? Okay, boom, here we go. So it's kind of the same thing with video games. When you first start out, things may seem complicated, they may seem hard, but then the more and more of them that you play, the more you start to kind of understand, okay, there are mechanics, there are different things that, I have to learn. And once I learn those things, then I can just do this, yada, 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 right? And, like I said, with that, with this game, when I first started out, rank was very hard for me. When I first started out, I was hard stuck in bronze for the first week. It was very hard. I didn't understand how to do this, how to do that. It was very different from quick play, the synergies, all that kind of stuff. And then you get a little bit better the next week, right? Then you go up to silver, right? Then you're in silver, you go, okay, well, now it's a little bit harder. The stuff that I was doing in bronze isn't working anymore, et cetera, et cetera. You get to gold, then you get to platinum, then you get to diamond, and you go, okay, every level is supposed to get a little bit harder. Now, there's some people that they've been playing hero shooters since their inception, right? So like they understand how these things work, and they jumped into this game and they already had a leg up. No differently than if I, being a guy who predominantly plays FPS games, stuff like that, if I jump into a game that's similar enough to Call of Duty, even though I've never played it before, it will only take me a few moments before I start to understand the mechanics and what it is, because most of those games are very similar overall, like at their core. So it's kind of the same thing. And like I said, I tried to chop a lot of that up to that, right? But now that I think about it in retrospect, if you're someone who's a platinum, diamond player, et cetera, you're up to GM, whatever, or beyond, it should be a breeze for you in the lower ranks. You should be able to breeze through bronze, silver, gold, etc. until you've reached your normal ceiling with whatever rank it is that you get to a point where you start to like genuinely struggle. That's your ceiling. It doesn't mean that you're stuck there forever. It just simply means that you have to learn new tactics and strategies and different things about the game to be able to progress to get to that next level. That's the whole reason why we play ranked. It wouldn't be very fun if you just jumped into rank and instantly got up to the highest rank and just never had any struggle or competition. That would be the point. The reason that any of us play something like ranked is because we want that challenge. People that stay away from ranked, they don't want that challenge. They want to just have fun and quick play, which is perfectly fine. There's a reason why there's separate game modes, and games don't just come out and it's just only ranked or only quick play, right? You try to appease everybody in every different group and community and stuff. But like I was saying, it should be a situation where in ranked that we're not giving out participation trophies. Where people are able to get certain amounts of matches where they're thrown in against people that I don't even think are real, and they get to advance. And then people that are actually skilled at the game, and this works for everybody, I'm just giving an example though, but people that actually like have developed a certain level of skill, it's like, oh, well, you won 10 matches in a row. Okay, well, now you have to suffer. And we're going to try to make you lose 10 matches in a row, no matter what, like whatever the case is. And, people will sit back and they'll say, oh, well, you have some people that they can win 99% of their games and stuff like that. The thing is that nobody is winning 100% of their games, because eventually they're going to put you in with people that just do nothing at all. And I don't care how good you are at the game. I've seen it with my own eyes. I watch some of these people that have the word coach in their name, and they sit here and make these videos where they tell you, oh, well, if you just do this, and if you just work on this, and if you only worry about yourself, which is good advice. That is good advice, simply because sitting back being a victim all the time, but sometimes you are a victim. Sometimes something happens and you're a victim. If somebody just walks up to you and just, puts their hands on you or something like that, and you've done nothing to them, then you are a victim. Now, do you have to deal with that? Can you not defend yourself? No, nobody's saying that. But at the same time, though, that is like a victim thing. But at the same time, the point I'm making is that only thing you have control over in your life is like your actions. You can't technically control anyone else. You can manipulate people and ask nicely and say things they want to hear and try to get them to be, or do the things that you want them to do. But overall, the only thing that you can really control is your own actions. So, I've put a lot of energy into studying my gameplay. I mean, you got to think about it. As a content creator, I'm constantly uploading my gameplay. I'm constantly looking at it and editing it. There's a lot of times where I thought I did really good in a match, and I look back and I go, oh, well, I actually missed some shots here, or I could have done this, or that ult that I used only got two people when I could have waited a few seconds and waited for the rest of them to come around the corner and got them all. Maybe if I would have flanked a little bit better, or a little bit deeper back into their spawn, I could have done this or done that, right? So trust me, there is no like me just sitting back going, well, it's everyone else's fault. I have the player that I am now is nowhere near the player that I was a couple of months ago. I started out when I first started ranked only playing healers, and when I did that, I would notice that no matter how much I heal someone, if they're not actually doing any damage to the enemy team, because maybe they're missing their shots, they're just panicking, they're afraid, whatever the case may be, it's irrelevant. You can heal all day long. I can have twice as much healing as both the enemy healers combined, and it won't make any difference if the tanks and the DPS aren't tanking and DPSing. It's just that simple. So then I switched it up. I started playing more DPS and more tanks. And you started to see that things became a little bit easier. But even still, I can be the best tank on the planet if I want to. Not saying I am, but I'm saying I could be one of the best tanks on the planet. But if I'm not getting healed and the enemy tanks are even remotely competent and their healers are healing them and they're not afraid to push up with them, what do you think the outcome of that is going to be? And like I said, I've seen these people who tell you that it's all your fault, that if you're not progressing, If something is happening, there is no loser's queue. And then I watch their streams, I watch them, and I see them getting absolutely decimated. They'll usually have the counter on the side of their screen. Oh, I've won 5, but I've lost 6. But these are the same people that tell you that if you just believe hard enough, you'll never lose. You can always dominate the battlefield, no matter if your teammates are around or not. It's a team-based game. That's the most goofy thing I've ever heard in my life. Go play a team-based sport and don't. I'm not talking about this game. Some people don't consider a game a sport. I mean, technically, you have esports. It's a thing. People get paid to do it, and they do it. But let's just use any of your favorite sports, right? Let me put you on a team of people that have never played basketball in their life and put you up against some NBA players and see how well you fare. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. It's not. It's just what it is. I don't care how good you are. You in a team-based game, it was designed so that you have teammates that all have a role and they do what it is that they're supposed to do. Healers are supposed to heal. DPS are supposed to DPS. Tanks are supposed to tank. And the whole point of this, like I said, the footage that you're seeing, it's just it happens with me. And I see it and I recognize it. I go, wait a second. I'm being put up against these people who have no idea what they're doing. There might be one person on the team that's good. I immediately recognize that he's good or she's good, whoever. And I work to eliminate them, do what I got to do. And then the rest of them just easy pickings after that. Maybe sometimes the whole entire team isn't good. And everybody on my team is good. They're competent. They know what's going on. And then the shoe flips. The next match, or however many matches after I've gotten the amount of wins that the game has predetermined for me to get, then the shoe's on the other foot. I get put in with people that don't know the role they're playing. They tell you that. They're already tilted from previous games, whatever. They come in, they're already beefing. They already have made it up in their head. For example, being a Spider-Man main, it's really irritating. And I don't play Spider-Man in rank simply because people usually complain so much. And it's irritating to me because there'll be a Spider-Man on the enemy team. And, I'll pick Spider-Man in the beginning. Not that I know that he's on the enemy team. We're in spawn or something, right? I'll pick Spider-Man. And this was when I first really started trying to play him in ranked. And people would instantly start, bro, switch. Oh my God, why are you picking that? Oh, you're probably terrible. It's like, yeah, I became Lord at Spider-Man because I was absolutely dog water at him. Yeah, sure, that makes plenty of sense, And the thing is that are there times when you should switch off of certain characters? If you're playing dive characters and they have a whole team of anti-dive, they got Loki's and the Thing and everybody else that was literally designed to stop dive. Yeah, you should switch. But at the same time, though, these will be the same people that when there's an enemy Spider-Man and they're the ones getting picked off by him in the back line and stuff like that, then they'll be like, oh my God, I can't stand Spider-Man. But yet you have a problem with Spider-Man being played on the enemy team. That's a separate rant in itself, right? But, the point that I'm making is that I try as hard as I can to adapt to whatever. I don't like playing tank. It's not my thing. I would much rather be a DPS, some type of dive DPS because I'm just very aggressive, but I also like to, pay attention to everything that's going on the battlefield, stalk my opponents, all that kind of stuff, pick them off one by one. That's my style. Or I prefer to be a healer. I like being able to know, being able to choose when I heal or when I do damage, right? But because I started to notice that people didn't like playing tanks and there was a lack of people that play every game, it was the same thing. Everybody wanted to be, it was 4 DPS, and then I had to, pick a healer, right? Because it's just what it is. And so I switched, I started playing more tank. I did start to notice a difference. But at the same time, like I said, I can't play every role. I've been tanking a lot more lately. And I've started to notice, like, how many games I had yesterday where there was one Iron Man or Johnny Storm in the sky, and people were just, they're just letting him sit there. Just letting him sit there like the whole entire game. These people would be like 20-2 because not a single person would attempt to take him out. And it's not like he's sitting up there and he's not getting any value. He's eliminating you over and over and over again. Like, I lost count yesterday of how many times, and once again, these are all in the VOD, how many times I took out Iron Mans and Human Torches by myself because no one else would do it. As a Thor. I'm sitting here using my awakening rune and flying up to him with my hammer just to get a couple shots on him to discourage him from sitting in the same spot for 20 minutes straight. Because no one else will look at him. You're talking about Hawkeyes, Punishers, Hellas, all these people that are Namors, people that are made to counter these characters, and they're not taking one single shot. Even when you go into chat and you say, hey man, take him out. They're just like, huh? That guy that's just sitting up there getting hella value? Nah, I'm good. I think I'll just lose and then I'll blame it on my healers. Like, what? How are these real people? And the game knows who these people are. They know. How do you think when challenges are completed, these very obscure challenges or challenges in general, how do you think they're completed? Because the game tracks all of this stuff. There is a whole entire profile on you that is automatically built off of some type of algorithm. It's just what it is. You would be absolutely just lying to yourself and to anyone else to deny it. That's how it works. Okay? No, in every game, it's what happens. They know exactly who you're strongest against, who you're weakest against, what characters you main, and who you play the most, who you have the least amount of time with. And you know what happens after you've had so many good games, keep you going, then they knock you down a peg. They say, okay, here you go. We're going to put you in with this guy who has never shot at a flyer in his whole life. Then we're going to put you against a team of people that only fly. And we know that they don't want to play anybody else. So it's not like you can switch over to a DPS because then you'll have no tank. You'll just be a team of DPS. And yeah, I could do it temporarily, which I've done before. There's been times where, I've switched really quick to, Hella, Punisher, whoever, to get rid of a flyer really quick and then immediately swap back to my character. But I can't keep doing that. They're just going to come back. I can't. That's a half measure. Then I'll ask people, say, hey, you know what? Maybe you should switch to tank for a moment, just to be a tank. And even if you're not good with it, just to tank up some of the damage, right? Won't even do that. Same thing with healers. Healers not healing anybody. You got healers that are going 3 rounds of a game, matches that are lasting upwards of 20 minutes, somehow getting 5K healing. How's that possible? A lot of times I have 5K healing before we even got to the first point in the first round. But why are you playing ranked? But once again, I can't stop these people from playing ranked. I can't stop them being my teammates. The only thing that you can do is go in with a full stack. And do I want to do that in lower tiers of ranked? No, I don't want to do that. It just seems silly to me. Why not maybe stop with this EOMM crap where, it's like, oh, well, Dark might get bored if he has too many good games in a row. So let's give him 10 wins and then we'll just, for the rest of the day, he's just going to lose. He's going to be put up against people that actually know what they're doing. And there's no saying like, oh, well, learn a new character. I've pretty much played every character in this game enough to where I can use them for their basic purpose. Are there some characters that I'm very weak with? Yes, there's 37, 38 characters in the game. I don't know how many. I've lost count at this point. There's damn near 40 characters in this game. I'm not even going to lie. There's nobody who's proficient at every character in this game. I know the ones that I need to know pretty much for the majority of situations that are going to be problematic that you're going to get into. But we're coming up on 20 minutes. Sometimes I have to get these little rants off, man, because like I said, I'm addicted to this game. I love it. But it is also one of the just most mentally debilitating things ever on the planet because we're playing ranked and we're not actually getting an organic ranked experience. We're getting an endurance simulator. It's like, how long can you just endure it? And what's weird to me is that the majority of people tell me in the comment section for anytime I talk about any of this stuff. Sometimes in videos I don't even talk about it. They'll just bring it up anyway. They're like, oh, I stopped playing this game because, I got tired of just how inorganic matches were or ranked or whatever the case may be. I went back to Call of Duty because at least in Call of Duty, you have skill-based matchmaking. Which in my opinion, that's the way it should be. I don't need you to give me 10 fake wins against people that have never touched a controller or a keyboard and mouse in their life. I don't need that. That's silly to me. Put me up against people that are actually on my level. That's literally how it works in any other competitive environment. If I want to go be a boxer right now, what do I weigh? I'm like 205 or something like that. They would put me up against other people that are 205. If I go and play basketball right now, I'm going to go play basketball against other people that are my age and my size. I mean, I guess the size doesn't really matter best, but you get the point I'm making, right? If I'm a grown man, I'm not going to be like, y'all want to go play basketball? Let me go dunk on a bunch of elementary school kids. What? Where's the honor in that? Like, what are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying? So if I'm playing a game, why are you putting me up against people? Why are you putting me up against people that are absolutely terrible at the game? And that's no disrespect to anybody that's terrible at the game. You should be able to be, I'm in the middle somewhere. I'm not a top 500 player. Now, do I like to try to get better every day until I eventually do get to a point where I'm really, really good at the game? Yes. But at the current point in time, no, more in the middle somewhere. But at the same time, should I be put up against people that are, me personally, I don't really care about going up against better people because that's how I learn. I learn by being thrown into the fire. That's just me personally. But I understand that's very discouraging for a lot of people. A lot of people do not, if they're in the middle somewhere, they don't want to be put up against pros. If they're all the way at the bottom, they don't want to be put up against people in the middle and people at the very top. But, the thing I have to be honest about is that, a lot of you that said you like skill-based matchmaking, maybe it was just because you didn't know how good you had it, but you complained about that too. Because in Call of Duty, people were mad they couldn't go into lobbies and drop 20 and 30 and 40 eliminations. They were mad that their games were mostly 7, 8, somewhere around 10 or 11 eliminations because that's more fair. That means you're going up against people that are equally as skilled as you, and you had to just make yourself a little bit better every match. Everybody was, oh no, I just want to be able to load into the game and chill. But it seems like these are the two options you have without just letting it be more of an actual random sense of matchmaking where it's just kind of like, we're going to put this off of connection. If you're close enough to this person or this server or whatever, and you're loading into a match at the same exact time, then that's how it's going to work. It's infuriating. And then, I'll see a video and somebody really tries to sit in my face. I mean, they're not literally sitting in my face, but I'm watching a video and you're telling me, oh man, yeah, you could just win every match if you just believe hard enough. Like this is a Disney movie or something. Like, no, bro, this is real life with real people. Some of those people are extremely bad. Some are in the middle like myself. Some are extremely good. And I can tell from a mile away when, you know what I mean? Like, to the point to where even random people in my chat while I'm streaming or calling out, they're just like, oh man, you're about to rank up. Better hope they don't put you in loser's queue. Boom. Just like that, loser's queue. No matter what you do, who you play, what role you pick, does not matter. Team can be winning and they'll just magically turn into like, oh, we're about to win? Let me just give up. I'm so used to losing. That's all I know how to do. Is what it is, but as usual, let me know in the comments what you guys think. How's your matchmaking experience been going? How's your ranked experience been going? Are you playing with a team? Are you not playing with a team? And that reminds me too, anybody that's made it this far, I updated my Discord link in the bio, on my page or by whatever the place where the links are on my channel page, right? I updated it because I realized that the links I was providing for that were only like good for 7 days or something like that, but I changed it to where it's good for, it's infinitely good. So I do want to start getting people in my Discord. Eventually I want to be able to do like some giveaways and stuff like that for battle passes and skins. It has nothing to do with YouTube. I just have to say that because that's their terms and stuff. That will be something that's done separately in the Discord eventually once we get up to enough people in there. And, also I want to, start building, a community of people where, we can link up and actually play. If you're somebody who likes to crash out and like to be toxic and yell at everybody and blame everybody, you'd be better off somewhere else. Because I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not tolerating that. You need to be able to communicate like an adult, and be an adult, et cetera, right? And be able to spread positivity, good vibes, all that kind of nonsense. If you're somebody, like I said, who likes to just crash out every time things don't go your way and start blanking out on people, we're not even starting on that nonsense. But that's the whole thing, is that I would like people to join the Discord and eventually be able to have a big enough community to where when people want to get on and they want to play, depending upon what your rank are, your skill levels, whatever platform you're on, like I'm on PC, et cetera. I have a console, but I tried loading this game up on my console, and just compared to PC, it looked absolutely terrible. I don't know how you guys do that on console, but that's just me personally. Nonetheless, though, either or, you're on console, PC, whatever other platforms this game's available on. I don't know if it is available on anything else. You should be able to find people to play with. So at least if you have a duo or something to kind of have to not deal with the algorithm and the matchmaking and stuff. So, because I feel like the majority of people that sit back and they say, oh yeah, grind it to this thing, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, probably didn't do that solo, man. Like, because there's just a massive difference between even if you just have a duo or something, let alone having an actual full team. So, big difference between that and what they give you when you're solo queuing. So like I said, click the link in the channel bio or whatever it is and join that. Let me know when you're in there. Send me a message. Also, there's a spot in there too for like self promo and stuff. I'm not one of these creators where I have an issue with people, when you have content of your own and stuff like that and you want to get that out there. I'm all about, not YouTube is not as much. It gets a little bit harder to kind of like for creators to like work together and stuff. But over on TikTok, which is like my main page, for more short form content, a lot of creators over there. It's a lot easier to link up and support each other and stuff like that. So that is something in the Discord I would like to do if you're somebody, because I know a lot of people will come in my comments and say, oh, I made a video discussing this as well, yada yada yada. So I'm all for people sharing their content and getting themselves out there and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, there's a bunch of different channels and stuff in there. And for the people that are always like, oh well, I can't get the battle pass or whatever, I would like to be able to try to obviously can't do it for everybody, but I would like to be able to do some type of like events or something to be able to help people like that out. So join the Discord. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, all that kind of jazz, everything. I love to hear from you guys. Always try to, reply to everybody. Sometimes I miss some comments here and there, but for the most part, if it shows up for me, if it's not like a reply to someone else's comment, just a genuine comment, question, concern, input, even like tips. A lot of times you guys have provided tips and stuff like that. And, it's stuff that I don't know everything. This game is intricate. There's so many things that I don't know. And every day I learn at least a handful of new things. So tips, tricks, all that kind of stuff, put it in the comments. And, I appreciate you guys for listening. If you made it this far, you're goated. We appreciate you, all the support and everything like that. So yeah, but this is Dark, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one.